Welcome back to Energetically You. I'm your host, Megan Swan, the creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. I'm so excited for this interview. This is actually the second go around of us attempting to finish the interview. We have decided to start fresh, and I think it is perfectly aligned because a lot of things have happened since several months ago when we first connected, and I think it'll be an entirely different conversation. So, first of all, who am I interviewing? The incredible SriMati, Julie Piatt. She is a mystic mother, musician, artist, chef, author, and healer who has lived her life immersed in devotion and expansive creativity. She is a way shower of finding the divine in all life experiences. SriMati shares her wisdom from a multitude of life events that she has experienced as processes of alchemical transformation. In her experience, her life has shown her that it is the ability to hold the divine perspective in all life beings before you, and that allows for the deepest access to the meanings that life is waiting to reveal to us. Each life is created in the perfection of a unique blueprint and has inherent within its design all that it is needed for its full expression. SriMati is a powerful living example of how to love ourselves more so than we can live our unique, more so that we can live our unique design in full and expansive self-expression. When we live in this frequency, we bless all life around us. So as you can see, she is a divine teacher. She is my spiritual role model in many ways, and I am just so excited for this interview. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome back to Energetically You. I'm here with SriMati, Julie Piatt. She is my mystic mother, teacher, guide, and really a huge role model in my life. I'm just so honored that she agreed to have this conversation with me today and be on the podcast. So welcome, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much, sweetie. So honored to be here.
Well, I am a member of your Water Tiger group, so I wanted to start there. I love that your tagline, if you will, is a way to know way. Can you unpack that for us a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been on this spiritual journey, for many, many eons and many years of this lifetime. And after studying in various traditions and meeting different masters and teachers and a lot of Vedic lineages, but also Mayan, also Lakota Sioux, also galactic in origin, I started to reflect on the necessity for the curation of the content that we are emitting. First of all, I was aware that everything we're putting out on social media is creating a garbage dump, basically. So thoughts are things. Energy is a thing. And we just have this massive, explosion of content, let's call it, that's being put into the field. And so I had a deep need to make sure that what I was putting out was curated, that there was certain qualities or attributes attributed to that content. And so it had to be useful. It had to be beautiful. It had to be applicable to anyone, no matter what their orientation is. And it had to be part of something that had deep meaning. Or there's no reason to add to the garbage dump. like I'm not one who's going to film, me brushing my teeth, or like, it's like what is really necessary and what really, really helps people, and what really, really is just, a waste, or just, just mindless, whatever. So I took a pause for about a year and a half, and I didn't plan to go off of social media for a year and a half, but I just had this overwhelming direction that I needed to not go on. So I started to meditate and let it come to me. And so I really feel like Water Tiger is a way to know way, because it's a sphere of techniques that will assist you in reconnecting to who you are. And as I subscribe to the awareness that all of us are unique divine blueprints and life prints, I use that word, that came here to express this one breath that is breathing all life in a very unique way. And we have a lot of external forces in the world that we live in that are taking our attention outside of ourselves. Also, a lot of podcasts and books and talking, and a lot of intellectual ideas about different aspects of life and how to lift things higher. However, what we truly need to really transform from the inside out are techniques. They are techniques that are portals to experience. And when you experience these energies, it shifts your entire life, your entire energetic form. So Water Tiger is called Water Tiger because it is an aspect of a natural or animal life of nature that was attributed to me personally by a physician of Chinese medicine. And he was reminding me that I am a tiger. I'm born in the year of the tiger, as many people are. And also I am all water, which he was pointing out is both my power and my area where I can really suffer. So he was reminding me to remember who I was. And when I was allowing these teachings to come through and really getting granular on how can I really share this technique, that even if you don't believe in God, or even if you, whatever tradition you come from, if you practice it with devotion, with commitment, just one of the techniques will shift your experience, and you will gain some shifts, some awareness. So I looked for a better marketing name, because I was like, Water Tiger, it's so obscure, and isn't there something more sort of global, that would be a better name? But the better name just never came. And so it is Water Tiger, although in the monthly community, so we meet and I speak about a relevant topic, and I do a dedicated technique for that month. And then I take a Q&A. So it's really a life guidance, having been somebody who's, I'm 59 years old yesterday. I've been married 3 times. I'm an entrepreneur. I've had multiple businesses. I've given birth to 4 children. I've done a lot in my life, a lot of different experiences. And I do music. I have a food company, plant-based cheese company called SriMati. I make music. I'm doing many, many things, art. So I have a lot of life experience also in the mystic areas. I was contemplating this morning that I could literally write a book on my mystical experiences, and maybe I will. But anyway, Water Tiger is a very powerful way to know way that the user uses in their own divine timing, in their own intuition, in their own order. There is no step 1, step 2. There's no dogma. I'm not promising you anything. I'm not taking responsibility for anybody's life. We all have to take that responsibility ourselves. And each one of our journey to enlightenment will be unique to us and us alone. It will look completely unique. So we can take inspiration from our fellow, tribe, but we need to remember that it's going to be unique, and really our directive is to know ourselves. And so the first portal is to know yourself and fully sit in yourself. And if you're fully seated inside of your being, There is nothing more powerful, more beautiful, more magnetic, more creatively inspiring than a being that knows itself. Then when you're fully seated and you've seen to all of your own needs and all of your own treasures, at that point you become a portal for humanity, because it then ripples out. So I mean, I'm not suggesting that we stop at the self, that we're going into the one, which includes all life, through the portal of the self. So that was a very long answer to a question you asked.
So many things that we can address there. So let's start with I don't know, some people might not understand that idea that you're going within to ultimately better humanity. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could look at, just if you're listening to this podcast, consider the frequency or the way the energetic of the word should feels. I should, or let's think of a 10 commandment, a commandment, thou shalt not, whatever, and feel into the vibration of that. And that is a constrictive, controlling energy, right? Mm-hmm. And same way of, abstaining from sex. Okay. You make a decision, I'm going to take that away and I'm going to abstain, right? Because, that's also a control mechanism. So another way, it's a way of experiencing life, and not everything is valid. But I guess a water tiger is more of an experiential way, where you go through life experiences which give you the energetic awareness that's part of your life. I mean, once you've experienced something, no one can take it from you. So like we have on Instagram, a lot of people, posting quotes all day long, and it's a very sweet thing and it's good. And if you say the word love, 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 you will create a certain vibration, in contrast to, hate, hate, hate will create a different thing. And you can look into, many studies into this reality. But you cannot experience enlightenment because you read about it in a book, or because you heard a podcast, because it's going in through your brain. It's like you have to have the spontaneous experience in your body. And so how do we do that? We do that in many different ways, through sexual connection. But the problem is we're not connecting with sexuality as our sacred power. We're using it in a very base level, almost everyone. We have that in those moments of death or birth, in those moments of magic of nature, or in a meditation technique where we drop into a meditation and suddenly we feel the immensity of our being. Actually feel yourself as a gigantic life form. You can feel that. Or if you get very, very, very small and travel inside your body, you can feel yourself as a miniature little micro life form. So these are the reasons that, there is no substitute to meditation. And a lot of people use apps to practice meditation, but they may not really be dropping into any space. Their mind is just doing whatever it does. So techniques, experiential techniques, in my experience, things like humming practices, laughing practices, visualizations, which take you on a journey, which give you these cues where you start, opening up your energy in a certain way you may not have ever thought about it. Of course, asana on the yoga mat, holotropic breathing, pranayama, qigong, like all these practices help you to access something greater within your being. And so you need the experiential energy in order to really embody it.
Yeah, that's totally been my experience so far. And there's so many of my favorites. And I love that sorry, we're still in Water Tiger. Back to Water Tiger, the one that has the two harmonies. I think it's called Shira, or am I correct?
Shriya.
Shriya?
Shriya.
Shriya. It is, I've really just enjoyed, it's probably been for more than 30 days. I first used that one, where I just find exactly what you're saying. Like there's certain things that words can't, you can't get, the embodiment. That's the best description there. You touched a little bit on some of the dualities. Can you tell us your interpretation of the ebb and flow of the divine masculine and feminine energies, and sort of us needing to be more comfortable with the nothingness and the expansiveness and everything, and let go of our idea of needing certainty around certain things or everything. Some people need certainty around everything.
I'm not sure that I understand your question. So you want me to talk about masculine and feminine energies?
Yes. Let's start there.
Well, we all have both energies within us, no matter what sexual form you are in. And it is really a time right now in the planetary evolution where we are getting ready to step into being able to fully embody both of those frequencies within ourselves, within our beings. The sort of state of enlightenment, and enlightenment goes on and on for eternity, so it's all different levels, or what is your level of awareness at this point, and then the bar just keeps moving. So it's infinite. The expansion is infinite until we are stars and galaxies, and it gets very, very large. So but I guess what I would point out is in aspects of the divine human in an elevated or enlightened state, we are accessing levels of androgyny where we are equally masculine and feminine, perfectly balanced. So that is really, it's not about, listen, I mean, the patriarchy has been, pillaging this realm for thousands of years, and there's no one more happy than I am about, the Me Too movement. And I was watching a documentary last night that I didn't finish, which is it's called This Changes Everything. And it's Gina Davis and a lot of other actors went through all the history of Hollywood and the film industry. And they're laying the history out to the complete removal of the feminine of that industry. And such an amazing thing that I did not know. In the original silent films, women were the most employed professions: writers, actors, directors, producers. And then when talkie movies became a thing and the corporations got involved with the money, they cut out all the women. And I had no idea that this had happened this recently. And this is some of what I was talking about on Water Tiger last night. We're going to start to see a lot of what we thought our world was to be completely, revealed to have been, in fact, the opposite, or, something that we never even considered. So that's the first I ever heard of that narrative. Was very happy. And, the solution to this reclamation of receiving the feminine as her own solar divine power. The answer isn't to annihilate the masculine. That's not the way. It's not the way. We have both within us. And so we have to, yes, call it out. We have to reclaim our history, and we have to rewrite our future, or even embody that which we know we are. We need to step into leadership roles. But there can also be men that are very expressed in feminine, heart-based awareness. So it's not about only all women. It's about cultivating the heart frequency in all beings, and the feminine nature, who is, a benevolent leader, one who makes decisions for the community, the healer, the cosmic mother, the divine, all of that. And as feminine energies, we are eternally creating for eternity, always. So, and masculine is holding the note, holding the space. So they're just waiting. Masculine is just waiting for the feminine to say what the movie is. And they follow us. I mean, they're just following. So it's not really it can't really be about blame, because it doesn't get us out of the game. If we only blame and then take an eye for an eye, it doesn't get us out of the game. And really, if you really check in of how that feels, that is not a life-affirming energy. Mm-hmm. So a life-affirming energy would be to reveal the whole imbalance, bring everybody forth, even, get the balance back, consider everyone as divine, all of us in our masculine, feminine energies, look within ourselves how we can balance this, but totally call it out. Because it is like at epic proportions been out of balance for thousands of years. But this planetary transformation that we are in right now is the return of the feminine, the divine cosmic feminine, divine cosmic masculine to this planet. And it will be realized, no matter who has anything to say about it. It's here. So we can start to relax in that a little and not feel that we have to fight. We don't have to fight. We have to embody that which is our divinity, that which is our organic blueprint.
Love that. Can you speak to what's your opinion on what we need to forgive, or the energy of forgiving? Is that necessary? Is that healing? Is that?
I'm not a big one on forgiveness. And this is going to be like really controversial, because I know that's a big thing. Like, you have to forgive because that's the only way you can be free. But do I have to forgive my rapist? I don't think I have to. I think what I have to do is recognize the divinity in all events, understand that the life in this realm is made up of many of these extreme experiences, and that as an alchemist or a being connected to her source, I can take that experience and apply a divine perspective and use it as the fuel of my evolution. So I can do a Jedi move and grab that and transform it into the expansion of who I am becoming. And I don't think that requires forgiveness of that act. I can keep that act in its purity, in its horror, and recognize the perpetrator of that also as a divine character in the movie of my evolution. But I don't have to forgive him.
Yeah.
But I honor him. It's like honoring your enemy or recognizing your enemy. God in all things. It's a perspective.
I like it. I'm going to have to sit and think about that for a while. I completely agree with everything you said. And I also think that it can be emotionally and energetically liberating Like, I feel in some level when you're still blaming, you're giving your power away.
But I'm in that state, I'm not blaming. In that state, I have embodied myself as a universal creator. I'm not blaming. I'm also not minimizing the act.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. And there's nothing to forgive because it's all part of the evolution. So if everything is divine,
mm-hmm.
there's nothing to forgive.
I like that perspective. Mm-hmm. So I think that all goes into another big theme of yours, which is the power of knowing yourself. What can you tell us about, I don't know, some really informative experiences in your life that maybe somebody wouldn't think of as being a spiritual experience that you've managed to take great knowledge and growth and expansion from?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, many. I mean, you know, the life doesn't let us skate by much. At least, you know, most people that I know that are on an evolutionary path, you know, the life will visit you in whatever way is in alignment to wake you up, to remind you who you are. And that is not in, it's not all love and light. That's not what a life is about. And, you know, in the modern culture, we're always seeking the good, you know, like, how do you feel today? Oh, I feel good, you know? And then, you know, I talk to some master teachers and they're like, the only thing you need is one really good depression to wake you up. You know, it's like, what is it about the culture? We're always looking for the shiny object. And if you feel terrible for a moment, then it's like, oh my God, you know, take a Prozac or, you know, stop feeling that way. So, you know, I've had many experiences in my life. You know, I was incarnated into a family that was, you know, felt like I don't know what I'm doing here, and you know, nice enough, but never connected to me, never really understood me. And so my childhood was a lot of waiting. I was waiting. And then, you know, I became a born again Christian without my family at age 9. Like, how does that happen? I mean, I'm a mom of 4. Like, I don't know how that happens. So yeah, I accept Jesus into my life in a congregation with 1,000 people in a rock concert at like age 9. My parents were just at home, like watching TV. They had no idea. So, you know, I went through that experience, which was awesome. Then I saw, you know, dark fanaticism and violence and that, you know, thing. And then went into a whole experience with drugs. You know, very young. I was dosed acid when I was like 11. Wow. By friends, not knowing, and you know, didn't like that, but it definitely was an experience. So then, you know, I grew up in Alaska. It was the Wild West. So I was, you know, out with my English teachers dancing on the weekends till the wee hours, and, you know, teaching my biology teacher how to disco dance after school. I mean, it was all just crazy, you know. And then, you know, I ended up later in a relationship with an abusive partner who, you know, lured me in as a young 20-something. He was in the music business, and I was an unexpressed musician. So I had that shadow attraction, and, you know, it was very intoxicating because it was all, you know, it was like David Bowie tickets or Tina Turner on tour with Yes, or, you know, Tears for Fears or Elton John, or, you know, just name it. So it was all very heady and weird, and I wasn't in love with him. I was in love with the musicians and the music. And it just ended up being a 7-year journey, karmic hell, where I was physically beaten, and, you know, not all the time, just when things got rough. So it's like this cycle of abuse. Yeah, right. It's like, you know, part of the time I was like a goddess, and then the other time. So, and I was young, you know, going through my experience. I had that experience, and that could have killed me. I could have, you know, I could have had children with him, which would have been, a whole nother trajectory, thank God in heaven that didn't happen. And then I met a prince who rescued me literally and had 2 boys with him. And it was the best 8.5 years of my life, romantic, bliss. And then, my friend's son drowned at age 4. Mm-hmm. I built a couple houses, basically put my heart and soul and risked everything and, did things that normal people wouldn't do probably. Just risked a lot of financial stuff. Got married again in a spiritual world concert, went through a 9-year financial collapse with my current husband and my children. That's probably the one that alchemized me the most into understanding the play of this life, letting go of things like bank accounts or health insurance or having cars repossessed. And living in a very privileged, Western society. So, there's a lot of other life experiences that are different than that. But in my own station of life, which I know we all are exactly where we are meant to be. It's not an accident. It's nothing to apologize for. It is my evolutionary path. And I've been many things in many lifetimes and, suffered all kinds of horror as we all have. And also experience immense blessings as well. So, so I don't know. I mean, all of it is, right? Every moment of it is, giving birth, being a mom to 4 kids, everything, every single thing of life, creating music and doing it from this devotion and this connection where it produces this prayer sort of, that literally is one of the most beautiful things I ever experienced in my life. So a whole life is an experience. And I think one of the things that I learned is I thought I was going to be doing everything that I'm about to be doing when I was 30. Mm-hmm. And I'm just turned 59. So it took a long time and I was frustrated and impatient and then thought I was crazy. Like, why do I think this scenario is going to be happening and yet it's not happening? So, life is full of many experiences and if we're blessed, we apply divine perspectives to all of those experiences. And in that, we experience immense evolution.
Wow. So, of all of that, one specific follow-up question on that, everything you just said, did you have this enlightened perspective? At what point were you applying such an enlightened perspective to all of these experiences?
Well, I definitely had awareness when I was very like a baby. Like I remember being in a crib waiting for someone to come and get me out. It was like the observer was just alive, like I'm alive. And I'm in this baby body and somebody please come and pick me up and take me out. So I had a lot of, I was watching, I observed for years as a kid. And almost like I was waiting to be old enough to leave so that I could go do what I needed to do and bless my parents. Like they are good people. They loved us. They fed us. They took care of us. I had 4 intense brothers and sisters. I had a good childhood. I just didn't have a childhood where anyone understood me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not their fault. It's a frequency of certain ones of us that come in with that chip. And we incarnate in these families and it's like, it's not like the storybook, like idyllic, like it's always this totally misunderstood. And I think that's just classic for what we would call a starseed. Very common.
Mm-hmm. That resonates a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about your other project and what was the timing of Water Tiger versus SriMati, your passion for plant-based cheeses? artistic?
Yeah. So, well, again, I've always been trying to reconcile the fact that everything is a spiritual mission for me. So, and in the business world, because I had a fashion collection before, I had to play both roles and like hide, and not be open and not share. And that always felt like, unfulfilling, just not quite it. So, I mean, SriMati came off of this organic journey. Basically, I never had I'm an entrepreneur. I've done many, many things in my life, and I love creating. I am definitely a creator, a generator on the human design. So, I did have I bought one cookbook. Funny enough, I was raised in Alaska, and Nobu, the famous Nobu, had his first restaurant in Alaska, and I had sushi for the first time at Nobu in Alaska. I don't know, I can't remember if it was called Nobu. It ended up burning in a fire, but later on, I have this beautiful architectural home that is my sacred sanctuary. It's called Jai House, and I built it I took all the risk to build it. I had really not the means to live here or pay for it. And so I built this with, total devotion, ceremony, and it's ended up being one of the most photographed houses of the decade, both in architecture, in interiors, and, health and wellness. And it's been on a bunch of covers, Italian Vogue, British GQ, Robb Report, Arc Record, this type of thing. And that is directly attributed to the devotion that I put in the house. Mm-hmm. Because I lived on the land in a teepee with my kids and an Airstream, my kids and Rich. And every concrete pour, I was pouring blessings into the house. We have objects hidden. When we broke ground, I was on my knees and my boys took a shovel of dirt and poured it over my head. Like, I meant it. I wasn't playing around. And I was just laid out, offering my body and my life in devotion to this force, this magnificent experience. I'm forgetting the question.
SriMati. Get back to.
So then, I had a book that I did buy, and I was like, oh, someday there'll be a cookbook associated with this house. And I bought this Nobu book because it's very modern. It looked really groovy. And even though it's not plant-based, and I don't know that I was even fully plant-based at that time, because I was working with Ayurveda to heal this cyst that was in the front of my neck. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I just took the book and put it away for 10 years in a cupboard. And then I went through this healing with a thyroglossal duct cyst in my neck that I decided to not have it surgically removed and work with Ayurveda. And I did a very interesting experience where I took these smelly herbs and put paste on my neck every night. And everyone thought I was crazy, and they were sending me letters and sending me articles and warning me and all this. And I just knew that I was going to heal it. And my physician did as well. So anyway, my body healed itself using mostly a plant-based diet and these amazing herbs. And then shortly after that, Rich had an experience where he finally started to get into his health. And he became a plant-based endurance athlete. And our agreement was, he was just like, babe, I want to do this race and it's double Ironman, and I know nothing about sports and I don't care either. So I was like, great. I was like, you should do that. I have no idea what that means. So our agreement was he could train all week, but when he came home, he had to take the kids. And the girls were still really little at that time. So he came in one day and I handed him our youngest. And as I passed him in the kitchen, I was on my way to the studio to go record music with my boys. And he said to me, I just ran a marathon. And I was like, actually, I had no idea you just ran a marathon. So from that moment, I was like, he's really trying to do something, and I can really cook for him every day and just have this massive spread for him. So he had gone vegan. So I started cooking vegan for him, and we were just trying recipes. And that's how I got into food, or that was the portal of how I got into food. So when later on, we would in fact begin to be realized, we were on the razor's edge, either to be completely annihilated or we were going to realize all of our dreams. I had finished our first published cookbook with Random House called The Plant Power Way, and I had done a very basic cheese section. And it's just whenever I made that cheese, like I couldn't even get the plates to the table and they would be devoured. So I decided, against a lot of advice, that I was going to work on cheese. And then I ended up selling a book called This Cheese is Nuts, also with Random House, my first solo book. So I created these recipes and I went into this exploration as an artist. It was a beautiful creative demonstration of the fact that there are many ways to do things in life. Mm-hmm. If we will only be open and have the awe and wonder of a child. I didn't look at what other people had done. I tried stuff and I was like, let me try this. There was a lot of failures actually in the cheese life. At the time, I didn't have many failures in recipes ever, but cheese was a different thing, or not cheese was a different thing. But in the end, I was completely floored by what I was able to create with these recipes. Shocked, actually, how they taste cheesy, creamy, full-bodied, yummy, and they don't have the gross vegan preservative, vomit in your mouth quality that most vegan cheeses have. And then I had some really dear friends from Europe who kept begging me. I mean, they would just beg me for the cheese and come over. Do you have any, And then really they encouraged me to start a company. And because I'd been in fashion before and had suffered the experience of closing a company after having it for many years and working so hard, and also experiencing the waste that was incurred by that fashion company, I took a long time to decide. And Rich was worried. He kept saying, hurry up. So I decided to do it as an art offering. I made it as beautiful as I wanted. I worked with this amazing artist, Brian O'Hara, who has written and read backwards his entire life. And he uses sacred phrases in reverse and they create a coding. If we're videoing, this is one of his pieces behind me. It's Water Tiger. So the branding of SriMu is devotional offerings for life. It's SriMu, do life, not cheese. And the do stands for devotional offering. So Brian did this beautiful braiding, which is on the SriMu packaging. And it says devotional offering in reverse, and it makes its own modern hieroglyph. So SriMu for me is a mission of global awakening. I discovered that food is a very sacred transmission of activation. It is, in fact, a ritual experience that we engage in all the time. And that I could activate this union with nature to infuse this experience into whoever eats it or ingests it. So SriMu is a primarily subscription offering. We have many offerings now, all from our luxurious sacred box that has fresh mozzarella and smoked almond cheddar, all the way to a 2-wheel aged wheel box that I did a cute little Bee Gees ad to recently.
I saw it. I love that.
It's a perfect clutch size. It would be like a really groovy clutch. When I saw it, I was like, it's a perfect clutch. But anyway, so there's a lot of offerings. It's quite an experience. I'm quite blown away by my reviews of my community and my customers. You can subscribe for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And anyway, so it's been an amazing experience. And it is the portal to a greater humanitarian work that I am involved with now. And so SriMu is on her way to be a global entity and, a very viable business worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And the end game, or the focus, the divine focus, is to fund these sacred temples in northern Italy They are future plans to be a living Akashic record for all the indigenous DNA on this planet. And that is important because this planet is about the celebration of all life. There have been various peoples that have not been given fair and equal voice to be heard. And all of our life forms on this planet make up the thriving life, which is our original dream, our original blueprint. And so this living Akashic record will draw all this frequency to a very special point that is a power field that influences the entire planet. It has these synchronic lines that travel through the mountains. It's at the foot of the Alps in northern Italy in a spiritual community called Damanhur. This transmits to the entire planet at an amplified level and also beyond this realm. So it is one of the most beautiful missions, one that is connected to my life, and it is with the Federation of Damanhur. They have been existing in northern Italy for 47 years, and they have built temples to humankind inside a mountain in secret. It's over 6,000 square meters. It is considered the eighth wonder of the world by the Italian government, and it was created by a very magical being, beloved Falco Tarasico. He had his first meditation school in Torino when he was 22, and he has led and inspired this group of beautiful people to continue this mission for the planet, really for humanity, for animals, for the earth, for the mineral kingdom, for all the species on the planet. So it's very heady what I said to you. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what? That sounds crazy. Please go look up Damanhur Foundations, take a tour of the temples and see the validity. You know, I was talking to them recently. I recently became initiated into their community. It's about 1,000 members and then many members around the world. But I told them, I said, oh, you guys, I was like, you make it so easy to advocate for you. And they were cheering and they were like, thank you, because, you know, they've been living in community for 47 years. It's not easy to live in community, you know, and so anyway, it's something I'm obviously very passionate about. It's the why behind much of what I do. So Shrimu is one of those frequencies. My music is another one of those. Water Tiger, which is connected to movement. So I'm teaching yoga, and there's spontaneous movement that is being birthed out of that, because there is a language that our body says when it is in different forms and moving. And then the last thread of that, I have four tracks that I'm working on, is this community Jai Seed. It's a new educational community that I failed at many times unschooling my children. But I have a memoir and I have a whole system, and at the right time, that is a thing. So it's kind of like all the communities are sort of merging together. So Jai Seed, which is the unschool, is merging with Shrimu, is merging with Water Tiger. So I'm sure at one point it will become all one thing. But for right now, I'm in the divine expression of many different things.
Wow, it's so beautiful. Did you foresee it being that way, that it would all come together at some point?
I don't think I did actually consciously. And I mean, life is getting so beautiful right now. The awarenesses and I'm receiving messages about things I did 20 years ago and what the alchemical meaning is today through art, music, ceremonies, things that I did, things that I set in motion. And another thing that I think is helpful for people to remember is that it takes a life to become. And in our culture, I think we're looking for that high success at like age 30, the one that's in the magazines or the one that's sort of put forth, you know. And the reality is that if we're alive and we're in a body, we're here because we have something to express or something to experience. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be public at all. It could be secret. Like, every single life form is being honored equally. It's like the sun shining without cessation, just shining. It doesn't edit. But it takes a life to become. And now that I'm in my last year of my 50s, I'm starting to have an inkling that our bodies are going to evolve in a very expansive way. And I feel that I will experience things in my body that at this moment in time, it is believed to be an impossibility. So I know my death date in my Vedic chart. I finagled it. I tricked it out of a Vedic astrologer named Chakrapani in a very hilarious way. So according to that plan, I have 24 years left in this body. And just recently, like just yesterday, I was like, wow, the life on this planet is going to become so magnificent because we are reclaiming these things that have been ripped away from us. That for the first time I thought, yeah, I might want to not leave that soon. Whereas before I would be like, okay, just let me get all my work done so I can peace out, I'll just get it all done. But yeah, different experience. And one of my dear allies is talking about how we used to have as a normal way a 200-year lifespan. And of course, that's been hidden and changed. And, you hear about it. You hear about ancient yogis that live 600, 700 years, at least in my circles. You hear of certain peoples that live connected to nature that live very, very long, So that may sound, crazy to the common culture or whatever right now, but just go ahead and think I'm crazy and then just stay tuned and let's see how events unfold in the next 5 years. It's so funny. Somebody said yesterday, I was on an interview actually with Wayne Dyer's girls, Serena, and she was talking about how when, no one had run a 4-minute mile, it was like impossible. Mm-hmm. And then somebody ran it. Sorry, sports people, I'm so bad. Like I should know those names, but somebody broke that record and then everyone ran a 4-minute mile, So it's this thing of, I saw something just online recently where they were showing this galaxy formation that looked like a huge chalice with like some ray coming out of it. And the explanation was that this size of a galaxy had broken the mold on what the entire space awareness is on galaxies. So they're like, now that this exists, it cancels out everything that we thought was true before. So, we're at that moment. And so I think we should have minimal mirrors around us. I talk about eternalizing. I'm not aging, I'm eternalizing. I'm not trying to be 20. I'm eternalizing into the divinity of who I am. And that's part of letting my hair grow gray and, my commitment to my movement and vibrancy and energetic work. It's not about chasing youth in a human form. It's about becoming a universal creator. So I'm eternalizing.
I love that.
And I think that is, it's within all of our original life prints. We're all potentially divine if we activate that will, if we choose it. It's not just there by default. You have to step on the train, so to speak. Which is full of lots of, different qualities of life experiences. It's certainly not easy, not all the time, but it's the most meaningful, definitely, in my opinion, definitely.
Well, I hope that you're here for at least another 59 years on this planet. Eternalizing. Thank you so much for being with us today. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Of course, I'll have all of the ways that people can connect with you and your projects in the show notes.
Yeah, I guess I would like to share one more thing. Coming into the embodiment of the communities merging. So I very quickly, I went through a 1.5 year exploration of speaking with large money funds of various types, partners, venture funds, different things. Plant-based movement is exploding. But what I'm doing is after all that time of like 1 year and 3 months of work, I had taken about 60 meetings and only saw 4 women in the entire 60 meetings, which is just shocking.
Crazy.
Anyway, but even after I got there, I turned down an offer of 1.5 million, which was a thing. I had never done that before. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit with the fact that somebody offered me 1.5, but I'm not going to take it. And then I just remembered, I had another track also, an IPO possibility, whole train craziness. No. I just remembered, I'm an alchemist and I came here for the wild magic carpet ride. Everything I do is multi-layered. It affects different levels of life forms simultaneously in a beneficial way, hopefully. And so I decided to create a financial raise in an alchemical way, my way, the way that I experience life. And so I am doing a 3.3 million raise. We have a valuation of 13 million. And I'm calling together a founder circle of very specific beings that are interested in serving the planet in the ways that I've shared in this podcast. And so that's one sort of, and I envision this group, it's a small, maybe 13 people. That are going to be, and so the minimum investment would be 250,000, something like that. So those people would come together, and we not only would steward SriMu into this global mission, but there will be other things that are ignited because of the level of being that are gathering with this level of intention. So I'm not promising you an ROI. I'm not promising you an old paradigm business platform. I'm offering you an experience for an evolutionary mission that will change your life forever and all of those around you. Now, as a sub of that, we are introducing something called a luminary program with SriMu, where we are inviting people to host cheese parties, not cheese parties, in their communities, in their safe bubble, in their extended families and communities. And they get 33% off of the actual cheese and then 10% of any subscriptions that they sell for a year. So if anybody's interested in being a luminary for SriMu and being a part of this experience, you can email dolife@srimu.com, SRIMU.com.
Awesome. And at this point, that's only in the US, and I know it's going to be...
No, it's US and Canada.
Oh, US and Canada. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, I'll sign my mom back up again then.
Yay!
This has been so precious to me. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. And I just love how you speak and you think. And I think it's just universal alignment that all your projects are coming together to expand even further. So,
thank you, Megan. Thanks so much, love.
Well, I'll be seeing you in Water Tiger, and I'll be sharing all of the information to connect with trees.
Thanks so much. And yeah, just really quick, if I can just say, so Water Tiger is only $33 a month. Some people have asked me to make sure that I say that so people understand that it's accessible. So yes. You can sign up, check it out, stream 30 techniques, and they've been.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly mention, for me, you were saying like it was important that you are curating the content, but I think it's also really important that it is a group of like-minded individuals, and then you really feel that sense of community on the calls.
Definitely. And community moving forward is going to be our greatest asset. So, and when we think that we fortified on the call yesterday, I think we did 2 or 3 prayers or meditations and gathered. We strung garlands, sacred garlands for ourselves in observation of Guru Purnima, the Guru within each one of us. And it does carry energy. Even if we don't know each other, we're not talking directly. You guys aren't all talking directly, but that alignment with, I'm part of Water Tiger. Now Water Tiger is what's behind me. And, Brian, of all of his work that he's done, he would not do a heart. This heart emerged spontaneously out of him writing Water Tiger, Water Tiger, Water Tiger, Water Tiger. That's what it is. So anyway, I think it's going to be fun. I think we have to remember it's a really, really beautiful time on the planet, and also remember to celebrate and find the joy and get out of the drama of the Armageddon, because it's not going to happen. So some people are taking transit during this time. It is a real, very real thing. We have deep compassion and presence and love and grace for everyone suffering. And also understand we are eternal beings, that there are many different systems of life, that there are teams of guardians that are taking care of many of these people that are transitioning. And not all of us are going to stay for what we're about to experience on the planet. And that's all beautiful. All of it is divine. So if you've had a loved one who has transitioned, choose to see them in their divinity as a powerful creator and not as a victim. You can love them into expansion wherever they are by choosing to hold that experience for them. And if they have left their body, that is the most positive thing you can do for them. So I hope you got some morsels of support from this podcast. And Megan, it's so sweet to see you. And I'll look forward to exchanging more with you down the path.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, love. Namaste.
Namaste.